Hello, Fran Harrison, and I'm reporting on the Children and Young People's Trust Board, which met on the 1st of February. We had some, at the beginning of the meeting, we heard that Keith Harrison is retiring as chair of the 14 to 19 workstream group, and he was thanked by the Trust Board chair. I believe that his replacement is going to be the council partner, the director within the Children and Young People's Service for that work, and who's just been appointed, so we'll know his name very shortly, I think. We had some amendments to the minutes. We wanted to raise the fact in the minutes that we had offered to become part of the executive group that meets in between meetings, partly because the voluntary sector was worried about being absent where commissioning was going to be taking place and important decision making, but we registered the fact that that offer had not been taken up, and I think there's some reassurance given to us that those sorts of decisions weren't going to be taken at those meetings, but we'll keep an eye on that. We had the CYPS Commissioner's response to the infrastructure commissioning strategy tabled at the meeting, which is always rather difficult because you aren't able to digest something when it's just tabled. So that is going to be brought back to a further meeting, and we'll obviously have a chance then to have more of a discussion on that at the next board meeting, I hope. News that the Children Looked After pledge that we'd seen at the previous meeting, that is going to be launched in April and has been circulated in the meantime to the Trust Board. Something that is bothering the Council quite a bit, as you'll understand, is the Ofsted announced inspection of safeguarding and corporate parenting services. This will happen at some time imminently with 2 weeks' notice, so there's a lot of action going on at the moment preparing for this inspection, and it is quite likely that the voluntary service will be contacted as part of that, and so separately Asma and Louise, Foster and the Care Forum respectively, will be circulating information on that. The Trust Board arrangements came up, and we're going to be joined by people representing early years, children's centres and primary heads and a governor, so that will also make us more representative. Included in that will be somebody from probation and the job centre. The board is getting bigger, but at the same time it is quite important for us to have this wider representation, because young people aren't just those who are in schools, they are in the wider world, and particularly where we're looking at unemployment figures for young people, we need somebody from Job Centre Plus, we need probation because of the offender side of young people. The Raising Attainment Workstream group update. The worry now is not just about BME attainment, which is a focus for Bristol, but also the biggest concern is the white young people, the white British pupils' performance. And so GCSE outcomes remain quite low for those groups. There was a question raised during this discussion about the sharp reduction in the number of young people that are being statemented and why that should be. And one of the suggestions made in response to this was that because schools can access funds earlier, then they are perhaps meeting their needs more effectively, and so not needing the statement to be made. Now we are hoping that monitoring of this area will happen, so that we'll know the reasons more fully in future. We had an update from the 14 to 19 workstream group, and good news that we've got some work going on transport, and I think it's one of the big beefs in Bristol from young people about the cost of transport. I know in Fairbridge that it costs a lot for young people from South Bristol, for example, to come into us to access our services, and we refund the bus fares. But there is work going on now, and in fact Claire Campion-Smith, who is at the meeting as the lead on children and young people, that members are working to try and ensure cheap transport and needs are worked on, and there is work going on with First Bus and linking that into the work of the 14 to 19 workstream group. So hopefully that's a positive. We also asked a question about what was going on with My Place, which is of course the world-class centre for youth that Bristol got £5 million of lottery funding for just last year. And we know that work is progressing well there, but there have been some financial worries because the 5 million, although it's a lot of money, won't pay for all the work that needs to be done down at the station, which is the old police station at Bridewell. So what's happened since, as Annie Hudson was able to tell us, was that the council is making available £500,000 capital to put into that, and they've also been asked for £100,000 a year revenue. We asked whether that was going to impact on other services, but we weren't given a really clear response on that. But so it's something for us to look out for, really. So that was hopefully moving ahead. Prevention and Early Intervention Workstream Group update. There is an issue of funding there, and that's about the sustainability of the multi-agency panels. So the Trust Board is going to be discussing that at a future meeting. There's some uneasiness about funding next year for support for vulnerable children in localities, so we're hoping that that will be addressed at the same time. The Children and Young People's Plan, the 2009 edition will be updated for 2010 and 2011 with an addendum, and meanwhile the planning for the next Children and Young People's Plan, which will be for the years 2011 to 2014, that has commenced. The Workforce Development Strategy, next agenda item, is going to include teenage mothers in the target groups, and we also asked for play services to have its own category within that, and also for the longevity of contracts for the voluntary and community sector. The challenge is there to be changed to make sure that there is stability of services provided by the sector through those longer contracts, and let's hope that happens. There's some progress on the BME action plan. It's felt that the plan needs to be more widely known, and just within that there's some concerns about Somali pupils' attainment still too low, especially in Key Stage 4, and many of those young people are in the academies, which have slightly different relationship with the Children and Young People Service. BME pupils are still disproportionately excluded, and although BME attendance is above that of non-BME pupils. So that was a run through of the highlights for the voluntary sector of the Children and Young People's Board. The next meeting will be on the 26th of April, so if anyone would like to contact me in the meantime to talk about any of the issues that have come up, please do. I'm available at Fairbridge. You can just pick up the phone or drop me an email. Thanks.